Welcome to the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa, where we discuss dating and other significant relationships. Hello, hello, hello. We are back. It's the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. And Poppy, we have a very exciting show. I think this show has garnered maybe the most commentary on Facebook.
People feel some kind of way about this topic, and Absolutely. I figured it would stir up the pot a little bit, and man, did they deliver.
And did. I thought for a second the men would remain silent, but then we have to thank Brian and Manny.
They came through in the clutch.
I was like, you were out there manning it solo.
That's all right. I'm used to it. I don't mind, you know where I stand with a lot of stuff, and I hold my ground. I hold my water with some of these opinions.
You absolutely do. But
right, wrong, or indifferent. I like to have my own thoughts.
So, to tease you no more, our topic tonight is, can people of the opposite sex be just friends?
Platonic friends.
Platonic friends. And I guess
that's the key here, because
actually this would go for any, same sex or whatever, people who would be date material.
Sure.
But just to do a disclaimer there, but we're both in pretty heteronormal, or as they say now, what the term is. So that's what we're coming from. I'll say that as a disclaimer, my own personal viewpoint and yours, Poppy. So, but for anybody else, feel free to jump into the conversation, because I would like to know, honestly, if you were in any LGBTQ plus, how do the rules work in a same sex? I don't even think about that, putting that out there. But
I would imagine that, and that may be a part two, perhaps.
Yeah, really.
But I would imagine that those same, sensations, those same worries,
I know it all
jealousy,
exists. Yeah.
that all has to exist in some capacity.
Right. But I just worry about this friends part. That was a lot of our topic. You and I've kind of talked about this just on and off over the course of our time knowing each other. And to hear everybody else have such a very strong opinion about, this, can you be connected to someone else and not want anything more, in a relationship, sexually, whatever. What do you think?
So I do believe that people of the opposite sex or different sexes can be friends. I do believe that, because I have female friends that I've just been friends with and have never been romantically involved in any capacity, in any level.
Have you caused problems for those women in their relationships?
You know what?
Because Poppy.
If I have, they have not told me.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm not saying I haven't, but normally, I think you can attest to that. I usually try to keep my distance, because...
You're very respectful.
Yeah, I'm like, once a woman tells me, so I'll use a scenario of, friends with benefits that I've had, right? Once they kind of have that conversation with me of, hey, I've met a man who has piqued my interest, and I want to see where this goes, then I fall back and let them be.
Okay.
And I, I take my ball and go home gracefully.
All right. Is there a woman that you have been friends with that you had feelings for and you waited her out?
It was not that I had feelings, but that, we really had great chemistry. We really enjoyed our time together. Just because of, different things that we were looking for, we weren't 100% compatible.
So there's nobody that you've held out for, like, she's eventually going to see me as more than a friend if I just stay persistent. To Brian's point.
You know what? I will say that. I've told my buddies this, and I'll put this out there, that as a man, it's important to learn to have female friends.
Okay.
And I tell my guys, and this is why. Because as a man, if a man can just maintain a friendship with a woman and just see it as a friendship and nothing else in between, it's going to serve you well for other potential dating scenarios that you may come across, or for, learning how to deal with women.
Okay, how so? Yeah, let's talk about that for just a minute. Like, what is the benefit of only being friends with someone from the opposite sex?
Well, first of all, with the female friends that I'm close with, that I trust, that I, can discuss a lot of details about my life, they give me fresh perspective that I'm not going to be able to get from my buddy, Jose,
Yeah.
just because of
Yeah.
the way we're wired, and from gender standpoint, we just kind of tend to have different perspectives and see the world differently. That's just kind of how it is. So from that aspect, I do feel that a woman's perspective can be useful, especially if I'm in a tough spot.
Okay.
Where I'm like, hey, I don't know how to approach this. I don't know how to handle this. Even though me and you, we stay on the up and up with a lot of dating topics and a lot of, material that we like to indulge in. We're still faced with the same scenarios that everybody else is out there. We're not the exception.
Yeah.
And we're not experts.
Yeah.
So we kind of learn as we go.
That's true. We're
building
the plane as we fly it.
And the people that follow us, they know that we've said that since day one, that we're not experts, but we're willing to be genuine, authentic, and real about what we face and what we think.
Absolutely.
As it relates to dating. But
just
back to the topic,
everybody.
Back to the topic, I do feel that I do have a couple of female friends that I trust dearly.
Okay.
And that I know that if I present them with a scenario or a situation, they're going to give me the real talk.
Okay.
The real perspective that I need. And that, possibly enlighten me, with their opinions, because I'm not a woman. So there's some things that I'm just not going to understand about how a woman
thinks. You do not need to go talking to Mama Bear about.
Right. I love my mom to death, and we're very close, but there's just some stuff that she don't need to be knowing about. She needs to pretend that I'm still 8 years old and still have lots of innocence.
Oh my God. Innocence. This guy. Oh my gosh. You were doing the show together tonight. So if y'all can see his face right now. So I guess for me, I do too believe that you can be friends with, someone that, and he doesn't have to be ugly. Okay, let me put that out there. I think we had a conversation on the Facebook post.
Those posts
you can
got
only
deep.
be ugly to be friends with somebody. But if you're an attractive person, that perhaps they are going to have some feelings, or they are going to get attracted to you sexually, or whatever. But for me, I think you can have friends of the opposite sex, but I do think you have to have a real conversation about your boundaries, about how you really feel about the person. Now, does that mean you can't grow into more? Of course you could. Anything can grow.
Absolutely.
But if you just absolutely don't see that person in any type of romantic way, I still think you almost need to have a conversation just to vet the person a little bit and make sure that they're getting into it with the right reasons, because the last thing I would want to do is lead somebody on or be led on. And let me tell you a story. So in my early Tinder days,
Tinder?
Yes.
Oh,
Going back to Tinder.
Where is this going?
In my early Tinder, story time with Nelsa, everybody. In my early Tinder days, wait for the book, I'll tell you the rest. I went out with this guy. We had a lot of chemistry. A lot of good times. We actually did a lot of things that I like to do, as far as my perspective went on it. But as things I thought were getting serious emotionally.
Right.
And I was just thinking, well, what is this? And I feel like that's how you're going to weed out, the F-boys, of course. Because I started asking questions about 6 months in, so what are we doing?
Where's this going?
Where's this going? It might have been 4 months, not 6, but at that time I was only turning it around 4 months was a long time. Mm-hmm. So he got kind of quiet on me. And it was we're just going with the flow, just being there's so many code words that I learned now looking back.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. But finally I was just no, really. I'm not saying you have to want to marry me. I'm not looking for that. But I really like you. I'm digging you. I like how this feels. Where are we going?
Right.
And he finally came clean and said, I really like you as a person, Nelsa, but you're not the woman for me.
Oof.
And yeah, right. That little kick in the chest right there, because I did, and it wasn't like we talked about, we're just friends. There was never, and listen, y'all, if they're vague, go on now, get your stuff and start moving to the door slowly as you're listening to this podcast. Because if they're always vague about their intentions, then it's probably nothing. It's probably just some fun, a diversion, a distraction, or the side chick even. So go on and run. But I just felt like, most women know from day one how they want to categorize a man. Whether you're going to be a lover, whether you're going to be long-term, if you're going to be a friend. I think somewhere inside of us, there's something I read one time where they said a woman knows at the very first when she sees you if she wants to mate with you or not.
I've heard a lot of people say, I've heard this from articles, I've heard this from comedians where they say the first 7 seconds a woman knows if she would sleep with a man. Now, that doesn't mean she can't change her mind.
Right.
But at first glance,
instinctively
in the first 7 seconds, a woman can sense whether she would want to mate with the man or not.
And I think, men that you can be friends with, like, I love sports. I grew up watching football with my dad, playing, basketball. So I was very athletic and was into sports. And so I think, there are men who like the energy of a woman, just like I like male energy around me. And being able to talk about things that maybe the people of your same identifying gender don't necessarily get into. I love to play pool, billiards. Well, most of my girls don't play. That's something that I typically, enjoy male companionship doing. So,
agreed.
I think there are times when just having the energy of a man, it just feels good. Like we don't have to do anything other than hang out or kick it. But for me personally, men just have this energy that I find invigorating. I love the way men can get upset and communicate with each other how they feel and still remain friends. I used to say when I was younger, because it always felt difficult. I was an only child, but it always felt difficult to really clamp down on good female friends and it not end up in some sort of chaos or feelings hurt or grudges or stuff like that. Just seemed to, or people feeling threatened, by one another. You could just sometimes sense that. But with men, I always felt like I was welcome into the group. Somebody was like, yeah, of course you were. You're a woman. But honestly, just genuinely a friend. We could talk about books we read. We could talk about, silly, nonsensical stuff. And just be sometimes. And so I really think it's possible. But when things change, though, and you start getting an inkling that somebody's got more investment than you do, that's kind of where we are tonight. Like, where do you draw the line? Had been dating for a little bit this last few months and back in these streets. But
welcome home.
Streets will always welcome you back with open arms. But one of the conversations we had was around, I have male friends, you have female friends, but I noticed there was one particular female friend who was always calling and asking for help. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you do this for me? Can you come over today? Mm-hmm. Will you please, watch my cat? Will you do this? It was something all the time.
Change my oil.
Change my oil. I just need some help around the house.
Women can breadcrumb too.
And that's what I felt like was happening. Honest to goodness. And I am really not a jealous person. Like, honest to goodness, I'm not. I really can maintain, I think, decently and not be threatened every time you walk out the door. Where you going? I don't need to look at your phone.
Right.
I don't care about your messages.
We grown, man.
We grown.
It's too much for that shit.
Right. And if you want to have an open relationship, I'm old enough and wise enough to be able to negotiate that if it's good for me.
Yeah, if it's a good fit for both, sure.
But what I didn't care for though was sort of you having to hurry. And first of all, you hurrying off the phone with me, your woman, to go and, see about another woman felt just some type of way in my spirit. So I did say, let's have a conversation about this particular
Absolutely.
friend, because it wasn't everybody. Like there were other people that, you've been friends for a long time. And then one time, we were chatting, like FaceTime or whatever. And that particular friend was over for dinner. And I was trying to speak to her, and she kept her back to me the whole time. And I felt some type of way about that because I was just like, now why won't you turn around? If this is just all, friends, there's nothing more here. I felt like that was an odd reaction to have when I really was willing to meet, and I know you're part of the background history. Yeah, so I'm not saying you got to supplant anybody that's in your life for me, but I did want to have clear boundaries, and that was kind of interesting that her reaction. If this was just friends,
She didn't seem very welcoming.
she did not seem very welcoming.
And
with
you know
my
what?
presence. Yeah.
I have seen this phenomenon too, and this might be another podcast in itself. I've seen the phenomenon where some women will friend zone the shit out of you, or men too. Let's be real.
Let's be real.
They'll friend zone the shit out of you, and then when you bring somebody else along, that's when they're like, "Oh shit, I'm about to lose some of these friend perks that I've been taking advantage of."
There it is.
You understand?
Right.
Now, sometimes it happens inadvertently, and then I've heard people do it intentionally, just to kind of be like, "All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring a date to your cookout
Yeah.
that my friend, quote unquote, invited me, and we're gonna
Right.
see." And honestly, I've seen the reaction, and you can sense that, hey, this person doesn't genuinely seem very happy for me.
Right.
Now, it's hard, right? Because could they be that, hey, they're just your friend and they want what's best for you, and maybe they think that you got somebody that's not good for you, or is there other hidden motives with that?
Right.
So I do want to put this out here before we get further into this discussion. I'm here to mention this to a lot of people, mainly the women. Men don't go to social gatherings to make female friends. You understand?
They're going to fish.
We don't go to the club. We don't go to the fucking bar.
Right.
And then we're like, I can't wait to go make a whole bunch of female friends.
Oh.
We don't think like that. We don't.
So if you met him at the club, ladies, basically Poppy is saying, look, girl, that is not what he's looking for.
We're not going to Club Onyx to find a bunch of friends. You feel me? We're looking for some trouble. We're looking for some adventure. We're looking for possibilities and excitement. Yes.
Potentialities.
So with that being said, right, and I think I've even mentioned that on some of the comments, where the reason why me as a man, when I've dated women or gotten really close with women, etc., and I get introduced or I'm told about, the male friends, the reason why I'm leery as a man is because I know the way that men operate. Men have the ability to separate any chemistry and emotion and see pleasure as strictly just a physical thing, regardless of whether you've been friends for 15 years or they just met you yesterday. Like, they can put that aside. So that's why, as a man, we're always going to be leery of these male friends, because if you gave them the opening, odds are that they're going to take it.
All right. We're dating. We've gotten, pretty good communication set up, good physical, chemistry going on. Can you make new friends that are opposite sex.
Oof.
Like, this is my new friend from work, Karen.
That's dicey. That's a little dicey. I think it has to be a strong relationship.
Okay.
But if you're just like in the first few months of dating and he's already bringing a new girl into the picture, I would be leery.
Karen and I are going to hang out for drinks, baby. I'll be back late.
I would be leery of that.
Okay. All right.
I would be. Even if it's a female.
All right.
I'd be like, who's this girl?
Okay.
Is she bi? Is she, does she play on the other team? Or how does she get down?
Okay.
Because I've seen that before. Listen, I have 2 friends within my circle who were married to men who, while they were married, they had affairs with other men. And that obviously...
Or the men or the women?
The females that I'm friends with, 2 females that are close in my circle, were married to these men.
Oh, to men who had.
And then these men ended up having relationships and fornicated with other men because they were low down, homosexual. So.
Wow. Didn't even think on that side of the table. You just brought a whole different dynamic. Like, is it?
But here's the thing: these guys, these 2 gentlemen, from the ladies' perspectives that they gave me, they were like, as far as they knew, they were straight men.
Right.
But then, as they started having these difficult conversations, they realized that hey, they really were attracted to men, and they were suppressing it, and they were just trying to live a facade.
Wow.
For everybody else.
Wow. Well, and that brings up another good question. You talk about. Honest conversation. And, I guess at some point, you got to claim that we're doing something. Whatever, however you want that to look. We're lovers, we're committed, but open, we're ethically non-monogamous. So many labels. It's so overwhelming out here. Yeah, pick whatever fits your
whatever
situation.
the hell fits you and
whatever you
your
like.
dynamic. Sure.
And that's not to be dismissive at all, but it's just really
it's up to you 2 or 3 or 4 to figure out, how you want to go about it. But all I know, me personally, once I feel that I'm going to be spending a lot of time with this woman, or once I feel that we're going to be play partners, or she's going to be my submissive, or maybe there's potential for something long term, then those conversations need to be had, I feel, on where you stand. And don't get me wrong.
How early is too early?
Oh, man. Yeah, that.
Because sometimes I feel like you can say too much, and then sometimes you didn't say enough.
To me, like, on a first date, I've done this on first dates before, if they ask me.
Okay.
Now, if they don't ask my opinion,
organically.
I kind of let that manifest on its own.
Okay.
And oftentimes, that topic will come up fairly soon, especially women who have to deal with this on a consistent basis, the ones that have a lot of male friends. Because they will tell you, like, hey, I have a lot of male friends. How do you feel about that?
Especially if it's broken you up before.
Right, because some guys can handle it and some guys can't. And the one thing that I have noticed, at least in my personal experience, with a lot of these close male friends, is that there was history there.
That there had been there was
something there was some smoke and fire there.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, it didn't work out, or it shifted, or somebody got friend zoned, or
somebody got married. Yeah.
Whatever happened. But for example, I know a few examples off the top of my head where the girl told me, like, this was like on a date. She told me that, oh yeah, we tried dating. So that basically they were saying that, hey, we have slept together. Oh. So then that changes the dynamic even more.
Okay, but what if it's a really closed door? I mean, you can close the door. Typically, I do. Once I'm done, I'm done. I'm not going back. Like.
But I think,
do you just feel as a man like that makes you uncomfortable to feel like this other person knows your person intimately, but other women know you intimately?
I would want to know. Like if I date a woman seriously and she introduces me to her buddy Jack, right? I don't want to be the only one that doesn't know that they used to kick it and had a thing.
Oh yeah. Now that
I want to know that, hey,
you don't want to feel
her and Jack were a thing.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. and they still want it to be part of their circle or part of their life, or they're hanging on to something that's not really there, whatever the case may be, right? Because I think somebody did mention that in the comments, right, where somebody said that the guy's just kind of hanging around until the right time comes up or the right opportunity comes up, and that is very possible. You know, where there are some guys who will just kind of hang around until they see an opening or until they see your relationship faltering, and then they're going to be right there. Chris Rock even joked around about this, where he said the next guy that your woman's going to be with, you already met him. You've already shook his hand. Probably. He's already been to your barbecue. Yeah. That's literally how he phrased it. Yes. He said, you already met the motherfucker.
Okay, and let's go to our comments, because Brian Miller, thank you, Brian, for commenting quite a bit. Very vociferous.
But he makes some valid points.
But he did make some really valid points, and I thought this was really one of them, because I have seen this play out in my own life.
Oh, there you go.
Men only hang out with a woman with the potential of getting naked with her, period.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. Maybe not completely 100%, but I would say a high percentage.
At least at the very front end, right? At the very front end. Maybe looks down and sees her hammer toes and changes his mind. A man gets friend zoned, hoping one day she lets down her guard, and then he could be at the right place at the right time to capitalize on her being vulnerable. Women love the boyfriend validation without sex. She knows that man wants her, but she strings him along, uses his attention, time, and maybe even his resources, knowing she is not sexually attracted to him.
I've seen some of that
but
before.
Makes him think he might have a chance.
Yep.
You know, in this day and age, I just feel like that's just too unsafe, because people could snap. You've taken them for granted. I just don't think that's a good look, no matter what you got going on for yourself, just because the unsafeness that can lead to stringing somebody along, and then you've wasted people's time. You've wasted their resources. I just don't agree with this. So, but I don't think Brian is wrong in saying that this happens, and I don't think it just happens.
No, I think the premise of his point, there's a lot of truth in that, where
I think so.
Some people take advantage of somebody's, generosity or friendship.
Yeah, but I think there are men who do that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you said, waiting for the weak spot. And if you're getting somebody when they're vulnerable, that's a bit. To me, it just feels icky. Like, if you couldn't get her on the virtue of who you are when she's in a good place, I just feel like you're taking advantage of somebody. And to me, that just feels like you're preying on somebody, Prey. So I don't like the way that feels. Like, to just, even with women who do that, because there's some women who will wait until a man has broken up with somebody and wants to come comfort him with some pie, and knock. I heard you broke up, rub. Next thing you know, and it was, her homegirl that she was waiting to move out the way or whatever. So, it works both ways. But again,
I've had that happen to me before, where I would have a couple of women hit me up, and I would be like, let me guess, you just broke up with your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And that would be exactly it, where they would be like, yeah, we're not together, I'm moving in. Mm-hmm. I felt some kind of way, because I'm like, okay, you're only hitting me up because you're looking for a rebound, or you're looking for somebody to captivate your little free time that you have now. So part of me was like, this seems disingenuous a bit, or just, the rebound guy. And then a part of me is like, well, damn, maybe this is my opportunity to show her that, hey, you can do better, girl. So it's like, it was mixed emotions.
Okay.
But I have had that scenario happen to me before, where that happened to me with a coworker, actually, where I would see her at work all the time, but she wouldn't give me the time of day because she had a boyfriend.
Right.
So I would say good morning, she would say good morning, that would be the end of it.
Right.
We would have small talk, but it wouldn't go anywhere because she had a man.
Right.
And then
you knew the minute she dropped his ass, didn't you?
And then somehow the conversation actually initiated like the summer after COVID.
Yeah.
We started chatting on Facebook. And I was like, hey, what's new? How's it going? Just make small talk. Just how we always have.
Right?
How we always been doing. And she told me she had brother with her boyfriend. Now, she told me this without...
Your name 50 times in that conversation.
Well, she told me that without even, like, me even like asking, hey, are you single? Are you not? So she kind of put that out there. So I read that, I'm like, hey, maybe this is my shot, my shot to kind of. Yeah, so I was like, hey, we should hang out sometime, go get tacos or something. She was like, yeah, we should.
Okay, how did you have to tell her?
We spent a lot of time together. There was a lot of potential, but ultimately, our downfall was that her words. She told me that she was still emotionally healing from that breakup, and that she didn't feel that she was ready to enter a new relationship. Because I actually, I was about to invite her to my family cookout. So this was 5 months into the future from that initial conversation of the tacos. So we have been kicking the tires. I think we started chopping it up September of what? September 2020. So that would have been like February of 2021. So February of 2021 is when I tried to invite her to a family cookout. And then that's when she was like, "Whoa, I'm not ready for this. This is moving too fast." And then I knew that you're not ready then. So I'll fall back. And that was that.
Could you remain friends? Did you still say what's up? You still had small talk at the office or what?
Well, we were working from home, so because the whole COVID stuff kind of put me at home. So she was working from she was working remote. I was working remote.
But did things change? Were you still as friendly as ever, or no?
I mean, we were cool with each other, but that was pretty much the extent of it. Gotcha. But at that point,
I'm trying to prove
it hurt. It hurt a little bit.
Can we be friends or not? Like, people say when you break up, is it possible even to be friends in that scenario?
I honestly,
if I got a new man, hey, this is my ex-husband. It's my ex-wife.
My thing with that would be, there's got to be something that connects you for that to make sense. Because if you're just being friends just for the sake of being friends, I feel that there's always going to be an axe to grind, or that's always going to bring those sensations or bad memories or just bad juju. Yeah. And if you remember one of the podcasts that we did when we had the life coach that was kind of an expert, I think it was Kat Toller, I think, and she said she was kind of an expert on the whole helping people get through breakups.
Yeah.
Ultimately, having that constant reminder of those bad moments, of that trauma, of those bad experiences, for some people, it's just a lot to overcome.
Yeah.
And
can't let it go.
And for your new girlfriend or new boyfriend,
seeing them in your face all the time.
That's, that to me, like, okay, if you got kids or you got a business that you both do, and hey, this is the reason why I have to be friends with her, because we have children together, and these kids are young, and regardless of what age, right? Like they still have to be involved and in communication. But if there is no need basis, I feel that can get dicey more often than not.
I keep hearing you say it can get dicey. I feel like maybe you might be on the fence a little more than you were in the front end.
I mean, I try to be, I try to keep an open mind with this, but I try to see it from both sides. But I definitely, once I feel that, okay, there is potential for something with this woman, I let it be known that, hey, these are my expectations. Like, for example, I'll give you a clear example, right? For example, right? Let's say me and you, let's say you're my woman, right? And I don't know, Chavis from college, and he's a good friend of yours. If you go out and get lunch with Chavis, and the streets tell me that you got lunch with Chavis, I'm gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's a different reaction.
You feel me? Now, if you tell me, hey, Papi, hey, look,
by the way,
Chavis is coming into town for work, or he's coming to visit his mama, and he wanted to catch him and get lunch with me. Do you want to come join us? Or hey, I'm just gonna go and hang out with him and get a sandwich, and then I'm gonna be on my way. Then okay, that is to me. I'll be like, hey, you know what, baby girl, go handle your thing.
Right. You can handle that.
I can handle that.
Okay.
Because you're bringing it up to me. So to me, the transparency is giving me the feel that, hey, she's got nothing to hide.
Right.
She's being pure with her intentions. Now, if I find out from somebody else that, hey, we saw your woman with some dude at, at Red Robin
Not
or
a Red
whatever.
Robin. That's high end
wherever.
right there, Bobby. Well, you know how much
Hell, wherever, you know,
a
name
Red
a
Robin
place.
hamburger is?
Chick-fil-A, I don't give a damn where. It
That
don't
might
matter.
be something going on with that.
I don't give a damn where it is. Then I'm gonna be like, well, how come I didn't hear about this first?
Right.
Why
You
am
didn't bring me a sandwich back.
And I didn't
That's
even
what I'm
get
gonna say to you.
Why didn't I get some nuggets with that shit? But to me, that same concept, right?
Right.
If I tell you, hey, I met up with Tina, and I went to high school with her, and you be like, well, when the hell were you planning on telling me about this?
Yeah, it's the first time I ever heard of Tina.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think that's about honesty, though. I don't think it's really about the person as much as it is, if this wasn't a big deal, why couldn't we talk about it? That's the way I feel about it. So
But here's the thing: the reason why a lot of people are hesitant about that is because they know if you know your partner well, you know that hey, this is going to bring up more questions.
But you ought to be able to answer it. That's what I say. Like, don't hide out. Let's talk. Okay, I did see something that I thought was really good research purpose. All right, so as we close out, we just want to thank everybody for coming through on our Facebook post, for checking out our channel over on YouTube, The Relationship Cycle. But I guess as we close out, you're married. You going to be able to have friends or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
And your wife, she's going to be able to have friends?
Yes. As long as we sit down and have that conversation and set our parameters and boundaries.
That's fair.
I'm fair to have, I'm fair to have that because I do have female friends that I'm literally just friends with. I've never laid a fingernail or never had a romantic inkling of any sorts.
Right. Were they pretty?
Yes. Because
In response to Manny.
Because that's kind of how we, ended up chatting it up. Like I told you, men don't go out to bars and clubs and be like, I'm really looking for a female bestie
You're
tonight.
looking for a friend.
It's oftentimes we get friend zoned or she friend zones you or you friend zone her because maybe you're like, you know what, we're just not looking for the same things or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just not my type, whatever the case may be.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I really had no idea that people were going to come out like they did in spades.
They came out of woodworks.
Go to Jorge Medina's Facebook page. You can see those comments if you want to just see kind of what the listenership is
There was a lot to chew on.
feeling. I know. It was really, honestly, one of the hottest. I just did not see it coming out the gate so hot, but it was on fire coming out. But thank you everyone for listening, for supporting our show. We are working on 2 years this October. We are so excited about that and are looking forward to doing some things to celebrate that and to hopefully keep you all moving forward in your relationship cycles on your own. So without further ado, Poppy.
Buenas noches, and thank you for your support and love to good people. Thanks for joining us today on The Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. Do you have show ideas? Email us at jorgeandnelsa@gmail.com. Follow us on Spotify or anchor.fm for more great shows.